Hello and welcome. This is Etheric Cord Cutting number 1, and this Etheric Cord Cutting is for M. Now, if you're wondering why we are looking at the bottom portion of an outline, here, I'll take the camera for a second and show you. It is a full person that I'm looking at here. However, my camera is pretty much back as far as I can get it. So I use this to kind of envision you, M, and I will point at areas that I want to point out for you, but I will have to move the camera to show you anything above basically the waist. Now, etheric cords can develop between anyone that we've come in contact with, had a relationship with, especially long-term relationships, long-lasting ones, and it can be any type of relationship. And they can also develop to places and sometimes even objects that we are attached to in some sort of way. Also, if you're wondering why I'm whispering, it's I'm going to get probably a lot lighter in my whisper as time goes on, because I kind of calm myself and relax to a state that would make it hard to possibly hear on a camera, and so thus it would make it difficult to hear in the video. So what I'm actually going to do is remove the audio from my little camera here and instead put my my headset, that I'm wearing a headset, and put my headset audio on the video for you to hear. It should also help to block out any external noise as well. So also, to make this session short, yes, I do have a little thing I'm going to go through here. To make it short, I'll edit any portions of the video that may contain silence or pauses, long pauses, because I feel there's really no reason for you to sit here and watch me kind of stare at an outline of a figure, trying to see what I can pick up on, what cord to cut next, and that sort of thing. That silence and pause doesn't really do anything. I do want to apologize if you hear a lawnmower in the background. We are cutting our lawn today, so let's see here. So what was it? Where was I? First went a little off topic there. Okay, so I also advise watching this whole video in its entirety, because a lot of people feel more, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. They feel more, I guess, kind of fulfilled in this whole cord cutting experience, and they really feel like it's happening then and there at that exact moment when they are watching, as if they can just feel the cords being cut then. So I do advise watching, or really even listening, just listening to the cord cutting. So sit down, put in some earphones if you can, and relax and enjoy. Now, there are also 6 steps to my current etheric cord cutting method. Step 1 involves me matching my vibration with yours in order to see and cut cords. In step 2, I call upon Archangel Michael to assist me in cutting cords. And these can be cords that I pick up on, and sometimes cords that I do not see. I know that you personally gave me a list of individuals that you would like for me to make sure cords are cut with. And so Archangel Michael will be helping me with those, and then any ones I may pick up on afterwards, but he will also be able to cut ones that I do not see. And this will assure that all cords will be cut with the assistance of Archangel Michael. And step 3 is where I basically will detect a cord and then cut it. Step 4 happens on occasion, which is where I will tell you anything that I sense about the cord. Sometimes this can be people, places, things, emotions, thoughts, visions, voices, etc. This doesn't happen with all cords, however. Let me move the mic back from my face. I feel like I can hear myself breathing. It's a little scary. Now, step 5 is where I will walk you through releasing this cord. This is usually the most healing part, my clients say, as you actually get to almost have that feeling that the cord's being cut then and there. And I basically will rinse and repeat steps 3 through 5 for each cord individually, because it's important to me that each cord is cut and remains cut. So I feel like this whole process works best when kind of steps 3 through 5 are rinsed and repeated. And after that, I will do step 6, after all the cords have been cut, which is envisioning you surrounded by light in order to help heal you, protect you, and cleanse what I would consider to be your etheric energy field. Now, occasionally there is a seventh step of sorts, which only happens where a cord is too thick to be cut, and this occurs when either you or another individual are unwilling to cut a cord, release it, let the past be the past, let bygones be bygones, and so on. Sometimes the cords are so thick that even Archangel Michael cannot cut them, and that's when there's a lot of resistance and just not wanting to let go or move on, or a lot of anger built up. So in this instance, I will ask the other person's spirit to let go and be willing to cut the cord. This usually will not happen instantaneously, so I'll ask Archangel Michael to remain with you to cut the cord as soon as possible, okay? And I will walk you through that as well to make sure that you are completely willing to cut that cord. Now also, it's important to remember that cords of love cannot be severed. So, in other words, if there is someone that you still love, that love may still remain in its purest form, not love for fear of letting go, or I'm trying to think really how to explain this, but pure love will still remain. It's like we often will develop cords with our family and siblings, especially our parents, and you'll still have that cord of love, but here we're only focusing on the unhealthy parts of the relationship, those unhealthy cords, and those will be severed so as to not basically drain your energy. And it will, cutting the whole unhealthy cord will basically allow you to move on without that negativity that is weighing you down. So now let's get started. I'm basically going to be changing over here to your list of individuals, and also you had, I believe, 3 areas of your body that you would like for me to look into. So I'm going to go through the steps now by first matching my vibration with yours in order to cut the cords. I feel like right now your energy is very, I want to say bouncy. It's very, kind of like all over the place. Okay. Archangel Michael, I call upon you now. Please cut the cords of fear that are draining M's energy and vitality. Thank you. Okay, so the first cord here, M, that you would like for me to cut, and just to kind of let you know, I have kept them for the most part in the order of which you've told me about them. The only things that I've changed around are your ex's family members being more towards the top with your ex. That way they kind of keep together. And I will be using the initials of these individuals so that you'll know who they are, but it will still keep their privacy, well, private. So first we're going to focus on HDM, who is your ex. And this is where those awkward silences may come in, where I'll say something and then there'll be silence for a while, so parts may be cut out here as I focus in and try to see where I see a cord. Okay, now I'm definitely sensing this definitely around your heart. Here, I'll have to kind of move the camera for a second to show you. Right in this area, and right there, that is where your heart chakra is. And so that definitely makes sense, as this is your ex. I feel like, to an extent, you still have some love for your ex, but it's nowhere to the degree of which it was. I feel like it's more like a family type love, as if you were to love a cousin of, or something like that, where they're still distant, but there's still that love of you wanting them to be well, for their well-being. Okay. I'm trying to see what else I can really sense about this. I do want to note though that your heart chakra does seem very well balanced though. I do see it being very, very, I want to say kind of like a, I don't want to say bright green, but very vibrant. There we go, vibrant, very, very well balanced. So you must definitely take care of your chakras. Okay, now I'm going to sever that cord where I basically will visualize. I like to visualize kind of like a sword, occasionally scissors though, cutting through that cord. Okay. Now, M, please take some deep breaths and be willing to release all toxic energies related to HDM. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay, I can also sense Archangel Michael here helping because this is a very important cord. I know this is a very important cord for you to be cut. And it's also one that when you kind of have that realization of it being cut, that it could be emotional in a sense. I feel like you are definitely ready to let go, but at the same time, a lot of feelings may surface, old feelings and memories from the past may surface. And even though you'll be watching and listening to this at a later date, it could be an hour later, it could be a day later, whatever it may be, it's important for you to kind of know that even though the cord cutting has happened prior to you listening to this, that, trying to think how to explain it, that sometimes, even though you know a cord is cut, it doesn't really sink in until you hear it and are walked through it. It's kind of like, one of the examples I like to give is if you grow up in a small town that maybe has a beautiful, say they have a beautiful theater, and you used to go there all the time as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, and then you move away, but you were very fond of that theater, and then someone tells you, oh, well, they just tore down the theater, and you're like, oh, well, that's unfortunate, and you don't really think too much of it. You just know, okay, yeah, the theater's torn down, but then you go back to your old hometown, and suddenly it really sinks in that, hey, it's torn down, it's not there anymore. And it's kind of that realization of it setting in, and that's usually what happens during an etheric cord cutting when the client is listening or watching it, as opposed to it being in person. There's kind of that realization of it setting in when it is being listened to. Okay. Now, the next person we're going to focus on has the initial T. Okay, immediately, I'm going to show you here with the camera. I'm trying to pick it up so it's not too wobbly. I'm definitely feeling it being connected right here to your throat chakra, and you will notice that all of the cords seem to be connected to chakras in some way, shape, or form. Usually your 7 primary chakras, I should say major chakras. You also will have ear chakras up here. And I don't really consider ear chakras major, but I don't really consider them minor. I consider them somewhere in between, and maybe some sort of like sub-major or something. I haven't really come up with any sort of word for that yet. But because it has to do with, I feel this cord's more connected to your throat chakra. I feel this has to do with you maybe speaking out to this person who has the initial T. As in, maybe this person didn't want to hear the things that you were saying, or didn't want, or maybe they even said things to you that hurt you. I feel a lot has to do with communication in this cord. Maybe you never exactly saw eye to eye, that there was always perhaps arguing with this individual. And this is a person, I just want to make sure that you know who this is. This individual T is one of the family members of your ex, initials HDM. Now, that's definitely where I'm sensing the cord that was right around your throat chakra. And I kind of get this vision, like as I look at this, that almost like a snake, wrapping itself around someone's neck and constricting, or, I guess the most easiest thing to picture would even be a child being born with an umbilical cord around their neck. But the snake is more accurate to what's happening here, because I almost feel like this cord is almost like choking you. I feel like this individual, I don't want to say that they exactly hated you, but that they were kind of always the one that wanted to put you down in a sense, which is, of course, a very horrible thing, but I feel like it's accurate in this regards that, they kind of in a way were bad-mouthing you. So now I'm going to basically ask you to let go of this cord and be willing to cut it. So please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to tea. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. And we are seeing this cord just being cut away. Okay, and I had to call upon Archangel Michael again for this, because I feel like this is a very sensitive type cord for whatever reason, that when you really feel it being cut, you're going to feel much more, in a way, vocal, and I want to say free. Free is like the key word right now, that you're going to feel so much more free from this. And not even just this specific person, but just in general, of feeling like, hey, I can speak my mind. I can, do whatever basically I want with my voice. Okay. So now we're going to focus on another family member of your ex who has the initial K. Okay. This is interesting, because I almost feel like can't really. Okay, this seems definitely be, and here I'll show you. I couldn't tell if it was connected to your first or second chakra, which are almost in the same location. They're approximately 4 inches from each other. That's at least how I see it, and that's about on average. But I'm seeing it now be more connected to your root chakra, which would be right around here, kind of at the base of your spine, and that's where I would more explain it. And so I feel like this person, K, was always trying to perhaps put you down, in a sense, to kind of make you feel like the bad person, the bad guy. Like no matter what you did, it wasn't enough, or it wasn't right, it wasn't good. Almost to the extent of, I almost feel like I'm hearing you say that, well, if so-and-so did it, it would be okay, but if I do it, it's bad. It's like if, I guess one example could be if there were twins, identical twins, let's say, and twin A, let's say twin A goes outside, and we're talking more younger children, and twin A goes outside and digs a big hole in the grass. Twin A gets in trouble for it, because that's seen as bad by their parents, which is understandable. But then if twin B were to do it, twin B wouldn't get in trouble, because perhaps the parents are more fond of twin B. And, I kind of feel like that's, to an extent, what is kind of like what it was occurring then. More like no matter what you did, it wasn't enough, it wasn't good, it wasn't right. And I feel like because it's connected to your root chakra, it's more trying to kind of take that that feeling of grounding from you. And when you're not grounded, you're all over the place, you're confused. I think you understand the extent of how important grounding is. So I really feel like, yes, this is connected there in your root chakra, this cord to K. This doesn't seem to be, though, a thick cord. I'm I'm more seeing it here as like a thinner cable. So this one, okay, I'm cutting the cord now. And this one is very easy to cut. Okay. Please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to K. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay, and I do apologize if you hear individuals in the house. I do hear some people. So hopefully this doesn't come through. Okay, now we're going to focus on the last family member who has the initials MR. Okay. I almost feel like, here, let me show you. Okay. I almost feel like it's connecting to your heart chakra, that this cord is, but it's coming through what I would perceive as your left shoulder. I think it's coming down and connecting. I'm not really picking up much about this cord to MR, but I do feel like if you have any sort of left shoulder pain, this could be the cord that is connecting kind of through it, which is interesting. At least interesting to me, because usually when I perceive cords, they will come through kind of like the front or the back of the body. So I found it very interesting that this one kind of I saw coming in and down. Now you can't really see what I'm doing now, but kind of like it came in from your left shoulder and down. And I almost feel like if you get some sort of random sharp pain in your left shoulder, that this could be kind of the reason why, even almost by your neck. So I'm going to cut this cord. Okay. I feel like it's not really a thick cord, but I'm having a little bit of trouble, like there's some tension for some reason. Kind of some sort of stubborn wall. I don't want to type energy. I don't know if this is MR's energy or not. I'm feeling like it is. Like MR is kind of saying, no, I don't really want to. So I'm asking Archangel Michael here to help me. Help me cut and release this. Okay. Okay, the cord, I see the cord being cut now. It's very good. So now M, please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to MR. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay, now we will focus on MN. So we have finished with the family members of your ex. We are focusing now on a person with the initials MN. MN. Okay. I'm almost feeling like this connection is also kind of in this region around your heart chakra, for whatever reason. So I'm going to cut this cord, because it almost feels like it's a thicker cord, but it's cutting very easily. Okay, and that is gone. Please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to MN. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay. Now we will focus on an individual with the initials JZ. Z. Okay, I'm feeling like this one right away. Right away, I am feeling right shoulder, right there. So this is a point that you also want to look at. One of the 3 body areas was your right shoulder. So I feel like this pain on your right shoulder is coming from JZ, the individual with those initials. And so I don't really feel like I guess it's not a thin cord or a thick cord. It's kind of in the middle, like an average one. But I'm cutting it now, and it's cutting very easily. I don't really sense any tensions with this. Please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to JZ. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay. Now, I'm almost sensing here in your right knee, just from out of nowhere, and I know you said you had issues with your left knee, which we will look at, but your right knee, I'm sensing something, energy. And I'm sorry to kind of like interrupt, but I don't feel like this is coming from anyone that we are going to be looking into. So I'm just going to see right now while it's holding my attention to see what that could be. And I don't feel like it really causes you much pain, but that on occasion, maybe when you lift something or do some sort of strenuous activity, it could just be even walking or jogging for long periods of time, or climbing a bunch of stairs or steps, that you'll get this little bit of pain, which of course, could just be a natural part, but that this whole sort of activity in a way kind of affects it. I'm really feeling though that this energy, like I said, or this energy, this pain, although yes, it can be caused by actual, physical movements. For example, sometimes after sitting for long periods of time, I stand up and try to walk or do something and my knees hurt. But I feel like this pain is somehow related to an individual that does a lot of physical activity. I'm not sensing that it's anyone that we are actually going to focus on. I am feeling more like a female energy with this. I'm not quite sure what kind of relationship you had. I'm not sure if it's any sort of possibly like physical trainer, or could even be a friend. I'm not sure. But I'm going to cut that cord right now. It's not a very thick cord at all, so I would not be surprised if it didn't give you any sort of problems to begin with. But we're going to cut that. It's cutting very easily. So please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to this individual. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Now the next person we're going to focus on your list is KN. Those are their initials, KN. And I'm once again being drawn over here to your left shoulder. So I am a little bit surprised here that you didn't really say that you have pain in your left shoulder, because I'm being drawn there again for this individual. And this is for KN. So we are going to cut this cord. Once again, though, it's a very thin cord. It's nothing major. I don't really sense anything like really draining from you. So it's good that it wasn't a very serious cord. But we're going to cut it anyway to get rid of everything, that there's no energy exchange here going on between this cord, anything that could possibly hold you back. So we're cutting it. It's very easy and simple to cut this one. I'm going to now ask you, please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to KN. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Now, I also want to mention, though, that since So I'm just kind of remembering the body areas, and we touched on the right shoulder. We will eventually get to the left knee, whether it's one of these individuals or not. But also your lower back here, that cord that we cut earlier, I believe that was related to K, the initial K. And so that could be some of your lower back pain as the cord was seen in that area. I just want to kind of mention that while I had it pop up in my mind. Okay, the next individual is going to go by the initials CF. Okay, and I'm feeling this one. This is kind of strange because I don't feel like it's your heart chakra or your throat chakra. I feel like it's kind of somewhere in between, which is very, very interesting. It doesn't happen a lot where it seems like one can connect to both at the same time in a way that's in between. Usually it'll kind of bounce back and forth, and finally I'll see it settle. But that's where I'm seeing it right now, is in that area between your throat chakra and heart chakra. So think of it as being the very, very upper part of, let's see how I can explain it. It's kind of like the very lower part of your neck, the lowest part that you could probably get to. And that's where I'm seeing this. I almost want to feel like I'm trying to think of how to explain this. My mind always isn't the most, I also want to say logical when I do this. Explanations and explaining things doesn't really come naturally while I'm in this state. But I feel like CF was almost, the word controlling popped in my mind, which wasn't what I was thinking. So possibly this person was controlling to an extent. There was something that I was thinking of before controlling popped into my mind. I can't think of it. That's very interesting though, that controlling popped in. Okay. So we're now going to cut this cord. It's cutting easily. Okay. So please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to CF. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Now we will kind of change over to an individual by the initials of HB. Now I'm feeling this, interestingly enough, almost in your left elbow, right around there. I'm not sure why it's there, but it's kind of where I'm feeling it kind of going. And this is also more of a thin cord. It doesn't really give much resistance for me to slice through this and cut it. Just a little bit of resistance, but not much at all. So we're now cutting the cord. And I am asking you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to HB. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay. We are now going to focus on CW. And I feel like this one is kind of like where your right hip is. Like your hip and your thigh, around this area, right there. And this one also seems to be more on the thinner side, so we're going to easily cut this away. Okay, and now, M, I want you to be willing to release this and any old toxic energies related to HB, and make sure that you breathe deeply and be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay. This is very, very interesting because the next person we're focusing on goes by the initials of GF. So GF, and I'm once again sensing this right up here in your right shoulder. Very interesting. Okay, now this cord is giving me a little bit of resistance. We're going to cut that right now. Archangel Michael's helping and we're slicing it. Okay, it's cut, and I'm going to ask you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release any old toxic energies related to GF that you may still have, and be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, happiness, and health. And the next individual goes by the initials of JS. And this one is also very interesting because I'm sensing it in kind of like your, I want to say, like your left breast region. And just, as I look at this, basically, even though this is on my right side, this would be your left leg. It almost always happens as such. Very, very rarely do I ever have a client say, well, when you were telling me about it, it actually was happening on the opposite side of the body, which is very, very interesting. I've not really found much of a pattern to it either. But I'm seeing this as being around your left breast, for whatever reason. Sometimes, like I said, cords will attach to your major chakras, sometimes to your minor chakras, but they tend to also at times attach through things. And I can't really tell. I almost feel like this is going right here to your third chakra, kind of like it's coming through. And that's kind of what I'm sensing from it. And this is for JS. So we are going to cut this cord. A little bit of resistance. Okay, there. We cut the cord. And now I'm going to ask you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release all toxic energies related to JS. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay, now the next one is PC. And this one here, I'm once again sensing the right knee, right there. Very, very interesting. But I feel like it's a very thin cord. So it's something that we're going to slice through right now very easily. And it's very interesting because the word hope came up in my mind, kind of like perhaps this person was a friend or something, someone that you used to like or trust in, but then suddenly everything changed. It's very interesting because I also almost feel like this person could possibly come kind of back into your life. It could be something that you possibly just run into at the grocery store or somewhere, or that tries to friend you on Facebook or something. But once again, I don't really see anything coming at that. And if you are not comfortable with a relationship with this person, then just kind of say okay, and just release it. And you say, okay, I'm not going to take this into my life, and release it. Even as a friend or what have you, I just feel like this person's like energy is kind of coming close in a way, if that makes any sense. Like you might see them again. So that's very interesting. But this is an easy cord we're going to slice through right now because I feel like it's wearing down. I'm asking Archangel Michael, of course, to help me here with this one. It's almost like the cord is shrinking, like it's getting smaller and smaller. So we're slicing it. It's going away. Now I'm going to ask you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release all toxic energies related to PC. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. And the last individual on your list is TE. And I'm feeling this in your left hand, right about here. Your left hand, which is also not a major chakra area. I feel like maybe at times your left hand might hurt, might ache to an extent, and I feel like this is part of the reason why. It's not any sort of big cord though that I see. It's about normal size. Okay. This is kind of strange, but I heard the words teeth. I don't know what this could possibly mean, but I'm going to cut through this. We're cutting through this cord. Now I'm going to ask you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to TE. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. So now we're going to focus on the 3 areas of your body. So we already touched on your right shoulder, but we're going to focus on it once again, and I do sense one more cord there. I feel a male energy, almost like a coworker or someone that you spend a lot of time with, but not really as a friend. It could be maybe some sort of group or something. I feel like there's a lot of collaboration. The word collaboration popped up. And I feel like that cord is there. I don't really feel like you were on bad terms with this person, though, but your relationship is perhaps up and down, kind of rocky. So, yes, we're going to cut that cord now. Okay, I'm going to ask you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to this individual. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Now, the next area that you really want to look at is your left knee, which is very interesting because we didn't really see anything there. Okay. I'm sensing, I know there's 2, but I almost feel like there's a third one. So the first one here, I'm getting female, an older female, almost like a mother or an aunt possibly, or someone that was like a mother, because I don't really feel like it was your mother, but someone that was like a mother to you almost. Someone very nurturing, caring, loving. And we're going to just cut that cord. Remember, any cords of love are not severed. They're impossible to sever. So we're going to cut this cord, though. And I ask you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release this old toxic energy related to this individual, and also to be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay, now the other energy I'm sensing here is male. I'm feeling like it's somebody's father, because I hear father, but not your father. Like it's someone that was close to you, their father, that you knew and perhaps talked to. And I almost feel like he may have passed on already, or that he is ill right now. I mean, I don't feel like this is anyone that you were on bad terms with, though, but that there is still this sort of relationship, even if you're acquaintances. So there's still that energy exchange. And so we're going to cut this cord. This one's very easy to cut through. I'm going to ask you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to this individual, and be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. And I keep feeling like there's a third energy there, almost like a small child, kind of like clinging to your leg, your left knee. It's very interesting because I can't pinpoint who it is. But we're going to cut this cord as well. Okay, it took me a few tries to kind of cut through it there. I'm going to ask you now to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to this individual, and also to be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay. And now you also want me to focus on your lower back, which I'm going to kind of focus in this region, of course. And I'm hearing 2. I'm seeing the number 2. I'm seeing 2 separate cords. The one cord kind of goes out this way, and the other one more goes down, from what I'm seeing. Now this one, I feel like this one, I'm feeling more like one that goes this way. This one, of course, both are connected to your root chakra. And I feel like this first one here is your father, I want to say. Remember, cords of love are not severed. But I feel like there's this energy exchange that sometimes makes you just feel feel like you're not grounded, like you're all over the place, not connected to sometimes the here and now. Like you're just kind of floating away, and you may even describe it as such. And I feel like this can sometimes be coming from your father, that there's this cord. So we're going to cut through this cord so that there's no longer this energy exchange that could be sucking energy from one person to the other. We're cutting through it. And I ask you now to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to whom I believe is your father. And be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay. Now the other one. Oh, okay. This is also very interesting because I feel like this one is your mother. So that's very very interesting that we have that both parents connecting to the same chakra. And this is the one that I'm sensing more kind of just going down. And so the same applies to this one of the energy exchange, feeling the emotions that they are feeling, and kind of feeling like when they're having a bad day, you might have a bad day, or feeling like they're sucking the energy out of you at times. So I'm feeling that, there may be that energy exchange that is not healthy for you. So we're going to cut through this cord of whom I believe is your mother's cord to you. There's quite a bit of resistance. Now I'm asking Archangel Michael to help here. I'm still feeling like it's not being cut. So this is one of those instances where I feel like she may not be willing to cut through this whole cord. So now I'm going to ask her spirit to be willing to release this cord on you, and to know that it's okay, that there can still be that cord of love, but that this unhealthy portion of the cord needs to be cut. Okay, so I'm going to ask you first to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to whom I believe is your mother. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Now, because this is a cord that is not able to be cut right now, I'm going to ask Archangel Michael to remain with you until both you and your mother's spirit decide that it's time to cut this cord and sever it. Because this cord is very resistant to being cut right now. So I'm asking you to say to yourself and to repeat after me, I am willing to release all fear and unforgiveness so that I may experience peace instead of pain. Okay, and I'm definitely feeling Archangel Michael's presence around you and close to you right now. So do not be alarmed if you kind of feel this very powerful energy with you, next to you. He's just watching out for you, and he will cut the cord as soon as both you and your mother spirits decide that it is in your best interest to cut this unhealthy cord. Okay. Now I'm kind of scanning this figure, and I'm feeling that there is a cord in your third eye region, and we're going to cut this one as well. I'm feeling like it could be to either a sibling or a very close friend that you consider like family. We're going to cut through this cord. Now I ask you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to this individual, and be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay. I'm still scanning, and I'm seeing right here in your right foot, I'm feeling, I can't really tell who this is, but I'm feeling definitely a cord there. I'm more masculine energy. So we're going to cut through this cord. Cuts very easily. I'm going to ask you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to this individual, and be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay, I'm also drawn to your right hand, right there. And so I'm not sensing anything on this one either, but I'm going to also ask you to do the same as I cut this. Okay, I've cut the cord, and I'm asking you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release all toxic energies related to this individual. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay. I'm also sensing here your right thigh, I guess would be, that must be explaining your right thigh. I'm sensing a cord, so I'm going to cut through this. Try again here. Okay. One last time. This cord is a little hesitant. I'm going to ask you now to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release all toxic energies related to this individual, and be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay, and this is also something uncommon that I'm sensing, and it's in your crown chakra, right up here. I'm sensing a cord, but I feel like it's to a place, which is interesting because usually places will have a cord to your root chakra, at least from my experience. But because it's your crown chakra, I feel like this is a place like maybe a place that you've rarely been to, or that you maybe have never been to, but you dream of going to, and that you have your mind set on. But you still have, because of this whole thought and feeling and whatnot, that I'm sensing this cord, but that in a way it's kind of draining your energy, like, how can I explain this? Kind of like it takes up a lot of your thoughts, and it makes it so that you don't perhaps focus on things in the here and now that you need to. So I'm going to ask that we cut this cord as well. It's going very easily because it isn't really a physical, I won't say it's not really like a physical attachment. And it's kind of like being attached to an object you don't have. Well, it's hard to be physically attached when you don't have it, but there's still this cord here. So now I'm asking that you please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to this place that you honestly may have never even been, and be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. I'm really feeling that this is all that I specifically see right now. Okay, no. Right now I just saw right here, I saw two. One in your sacral chakra, and this one is a past love, I feel. It could be an actual full-blown relationship, or perhaps it was more of a fling, short-term type thing. So I'm going to cut this cord now. Okay, and I'm asking now that you please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to this individual. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay, and now the other one here is your root chakra, which this one I'm feeling is more a relative, or kind of like a brother or sister, or a very close friend that you would have considered or might still consider to be like a brother or sister. So we're going to cut through this cord. Do this a few times. I'm going to ask Archangel Michael here. This one's also soon have a little bit of trouble. Okay, this one does not want to cut. So now I'm going to ask that our Archangel Michael stay with you to help cut this cord when both you and this individual are ready. So I'm just going to send out the intention to their soul that this cord cutting will be beneficial and that it will not sever any type of cords of love. And so I'm going to ask you to please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to this individual. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. I'm also going to ask you to repeat after me. I am willing to release all fear and unforgiveness so that I may experience peace instead of pain. Okay. So now I'm not really sensing any more cords, nothing that I'm really seeing popping out. So I'm going to ask that Archangel Michael take care of any other cords that may not be visible to me, that he cuts through each and every one of them for you. Now I am going to ask for this last cord cutting as he cuts through everything else. I'm going to ask that you please take some deep breaths and be willing to release old toxic energies related to any of these people, places, or things. Be willing to detoxify yourself so that you can enjoy peace, health, and happiness. Okay. So that is your etheric cord cutting. I hope that you have enjoyed it and that it will be very beneficial to you. So thank you for allowing me to do an etheric cord cutting for you. And please let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this. Thank you and have a wonderful day.